Yaffee program on WVNN.
Well, I guess this is breaking news, even though really not. We knew this was the case. But Trump spoke at Davos today in Switzerland for the World Economic Forum. And he says the U.S. won't, as in will not, for those in the back. Trump says the U.S. won't use force to acquire Greenland. Now, we all knew this was the case. Trump and the administration said they won't rule anything out, but no one really thought Trump was going to invade Greenland. I joked about it. Like, how would that work? How would that look? Other people joked that you could literally just send like 2 Navy SEALs in there and then you've taken the country. I guess because not much there. But it says this, according to the Wall Street Journal, President Trump said the U.S. wouldn't use force to acquire Greenland and was seeking negotiations on the acquisition of the territory, repeating his claim that only the U.S. is capable of defending it. Now, in an address that lasted for more than an hour in Davos, he said the reason the U.S. needs to take control of Greenland is purely for security and nothing to do with access to minerals, calling Denmark ungrateful for U.S. action in World War II. Now, I find it very difficult to believe that it has nothing to do with minerals. I think it does. Now, look, access to rare earth minerals, that is a part of national security. So we'll talk more about that, and we have a lot to get to on the show today. You are listening to the Yaffee program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Also today, I don't have any guests coming on the show, believe it or not. So that means you could be my guest because I have a question for you. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary since Trump was inaugurated for his second term. And you can weigh in on the text line or call in. We have our free speech phone line brought to you by Coleman Furniture Market. And we have the Yaffee text line brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. Both the same phone number. As you know, 866-494-9866. 866-494-WVNN. I want you to rate Trump's first year in his second term. Rate it from 1 to 10. 10 being the best it could possibly be, and 0, of course, being the worst. And give me a good answer. Tell me why. So you can weigh in, 866-494-9866. And if you give me a good answer, by the way, we have Yaffee Make Radio Great Again t-shirts that to give away. So if you would like a Yaffee, the coveted Yaffee shirt, I guess we have some Dale Jackson shirts as well if you'd rather have that. But give me a good answer. I'll read your text on the air or I'll take your call, 866-494-9866. Rate Trump's first year of his second term from 1 to 10. Obviously, Trump is giving himself a 10. That's how he is, but I'm curious what you think. So we'll get to that during the show. I do have the Alabama bullet points in the next segment. We also have to talk about the latest in Minneapolis, more evidence that the Attorney General of Minnesota doesn't understand the law. So the chief law enforcement officer in Minnesota doesn't understand the law. So that's good. By the way, apparently there's a library in Alabama that doesn't understand the rules either. So they're going to lose funding. Okay. Then in the next hour, we're going to talk about, like I said, take your calls, and I'll play some cuts of Trump because he gave a long press conference. I think I could probably just play all of Trump's press conference and I wouldn't have to do anything for the show. I think it lasted like 2 hours. But we'll get to that later on. And Walker is here producing. She's going to do What's Trending later on as well. Walker, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. By the way, do you happen to have the audio ready?
I do.
Oh, awesome. Great. So, yeah, let's talk about the latest in Greenland. This has become the big issue as Trump has traveled to Davos. It's a yearly thing he goes to, and I'm, like I said, he said he's not going to take it by force. No one expected him to actually take it by force. But he did talk about this yesterday as well. So go ahead, Walker. Play Trump cut 1 for me.
I think something's going to happen that's going to be very good for everybody. Nobody's done more for NATO than I have, as I said before, in every way.
You said you're confident something's going to get worked out in Greenland, but Greenlanders have made it clear they don't want to be part of the U.S.
Well,
what gives the U.S. the right to take away that self-determination?
When I speak to them, I'm sure they'll be thrilled. Take a look at the word license. Take a look at other things. I mean, we have other alternatives. But what we're doing now is the best, the strongest, the fastest, the easiest, the least complicated.
All right, so negotiations have begun. Now, Trump did threaten tariffs against European countries who are not on board. I guess some of the European countries are taking it pretty hard, and they're threatening retaliatory tariffs and everything else. Most likely what it would do is if he implemented tariffs, they would just back out of the trade deal that was worked out last year with the Trump administration. Now, one of our congressmen in Alabama, Gary Palmer, I think hit the nail on the head on why this issue is important. Remember, I'm not necessarily a fan of how Trump is going about this, but I do agree with the end goal. I think it would be good for national security, good for the United States, good for the world if Greenland was a part of the U.S. So Gary Palmer talked about it this week. Play the Gary Palmer cut for me.
I really don't think we want to take over Greenland, but at the same time, we can't let China come in and take it. And they will. They'll buy their way into it. That's what they've done in South America. I talked to the former Canadian conservative leader in the Canadian Parliament about Greenland, and I said, you know, China declared themselves a near Arctic nation. They're nowhere near the Arctic, but they declare themselves that so they can claim a right to the mineral resources in that area. And I told this lady who was the former conservative leader in their parliament, I said, what has Canada done to protect itself? And the same thing's true of Greenland. There's no way Denmark can hold off China. China's not going to invade, but to just resist their will. So that's what we're trying to do is protect our own region from further encroachment by the Chinese and the Russians, for that matter. Russia does have a legitimate claim because they are a near Arctic nation. They're already up near the Arctic Circle, and the Arctic Ocean is a fairly relatively shallow ocean compared to the other major oceans. But they're up there exploring and probing, and we don't know what all's in Greenland, but we do know that we're in a national security emergency in regard to a supply chain of refined rare earth elements.
I mean, he's right. Everything he said is right. So you can not maybe like Trump's approach, although it seems like he's softened a little bit in Davos, but the end goal is a good one for all the reasons Gary Palmer cited. Now, Scott Bessent, who is Trump's Treasury Secretary, also weighed in on this. He's been supporting Trump on this effort. Go ahead and play the Bessent cut.
The president will be here tomorrow, and he will get his message across. I believe he is going to have meetings, and again, also have an open mind. That, you know, why this rapid response in terms of, you know, this is a no. And by the way, Maria, this has been in the minds of American presidents for more than 150 years. For more than 150 years.
So the vulnerability was seen even back then?
Well, or the strategic value of Greenland. And I think as there are more trade routes that move near Greenland, Greenland becomes more and more valuable.
So I think he's right on that. Why were the Danes so insistent on just saying no? Is it just a pride thing? Where Denmark says, nope, we're not giving it up. Never. And Greenland's like, nope. It did kind of amaze me. Now, when Trump starts threatening tariffs and stuff, then I kind of understand the escalation. But before that, you'd think, wouldn't you want to be a part of the U.S.? But they get the national security part of it because Trump would too, but the United States would protect Greenland from an attack of China or anyone else, even if they're not a part of the U.S. So maybe they get the benefits without anything else. So I'm curious what you think about that. You can weigh in, but I got people weighing in already. You can weigh in as well. We have the free speech phone lines, the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. The question of the day, really, rate Trump's first year in his second term. The inauguration was a year ago. From 0 to 10. You can tell me what you think. One person said this already, said they rate him a 7 and said they like the policy, not the antics. I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot of that today. That's usually the take for most people. Unless you're a diehard Trump supporter, a lot of people are going to say, and this is kind of my take, he's great what he does. What he does is good. What he says is not always so good. That's usually how it works. Richard from Madison also weighed in and said this. Said, I give President Trump an 8 out of 10. There are still some questions about the long-term effects of Venezuela and his takeover of Greenland, quote unquote. He has definitely followed through on his campaign promises, which is a rarity among politicians. And Richard also put hashtag TruthCzar Yaffee. Maybe I need that on a shirt. I say it, so maybe that would be good on a shirt. Alabama's Truth Czar. This is Huntsville's disinformation board. Really curious what you think. Rate Trump's first term from 0 to 10, 10 being the best. How do you think it was? Do you agree with these texters? You can weigh in. You can win a Yaffee Make Radio Great Again t-shirt if you give me a good answer. You can also weigh in on whether we're going to be able to acquire Greenland. Like what's going to be the end result here? So I'm curious what you think. 866-494-9866. 866-494-WVNN. All right, we'll get to more of your text messages, your calls. You got the Alabama bullet points coming up next as well. You're listening to the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
American Skyjacker tells the story of D.B. Cooper copycat Martin McNally, who hijacked a plane and jumped out with $500,000. But that's just the start of this epic true crime saga. Now, American Skyjacker is an action-packed documentary available on all major platforms. Go to AmericanSkyjacker.com to subscribe to the podcast and watch the film. And look out for a new bonus episode of the podcast coming soon. American Skyjacker. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Hey, I'm Chris Van Vliet, host of the #1 podcast, Insight with Chris Van Vliet. On the show, I sit down with the biggest names in pro wrestling, sports, film, and beyond. These are real, long-form conversations that go behind the scenes and beyond the headlines with people like John Cena, The Undertaker, Cody Rhodes, and more. We talk mindset, motivation, and what it takes to succeed. This is Insight with Chris Van Vliet. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.